Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside Voices First Takes. I'm your host, Adam Rubin.
And I'm your co-host, Colin Binnig.
And today we're going to talk about the movie we've each just seen, The Shape of Water.
Finish the job, son.
Eliza, honey, he's coming for you.
Otherwise known as If Abes Sapien Got Some.
God damn it, Tristan, Adam, I was going to say that. Hellboy, 0.5 or something. It's the prequel to everything.
Yes.
Hate you.
That's what inspired him. But Abe Sapien was a little too much of a nerd to get with this chick. So I think this is not a prequel. This is an alternate reimagining.
It's his grandfather, is what you're saying.
That could be. Oh, that could be. That would be good.
Right?
That would be good. That would be good. So, what'd you think, Con?
Well, this movie, I've seen many movies that have, transcended the genre or the genre that it's been defined in, or I've seen movies that have been more than one genre. This movie is the first in recent memory I can think of that I think I have to label it as undefinable. I don't know how this movie fits in terms of putting it in a box that is a genre. It's like at least 8 genres in one movie, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Maybe not 8, but at least maybe 5. At least 5 or 6 for sure. The movie is a sci-fi. We have an underwater creature that doesn't actually exist in real life. It's a period movie. Right, it's a Cold War period movie. It's got a level of B monster, from the 50s, paranoia and xenophobia going on in it. It's a romantic movie. It's a fantasy. It's a fairy tale. It's all in one movie. I don't understand how Guillermo did
it's
it.
It's a drama.
Yeah.
Why don't we go with drama?
Well, drama is just so basic to describe this movie. That doesn't do it justice. But wow! I can't believe there were so many elements from so many genres in one movie that I was just kind of I don't know how to describe. It's hard to describe. It's
hard to pigeonhole this movie.
Yeah,
it's hard to pigeonhole this movie. Yeah,
it's hard to pigeonhole it for sure. How about you?
You know what I think? It's in the vein of King Kong.
The Peter Jackson King Kong or the new one?
Well, whatever. All of the various Kings Kong, where you have an unreal creature who the government is attempting to destroy and falls in love with a woman. That's King Kong.
I didn't think of King Kong when I saw this movie, but you know what? You're absolutely right. It definitely has the same kind of story beats and elements. I would also add, obviously a little bit of Hellboy, a little bit of Creature from the Black Lagoon as well, with the design of the creature.
Sure.
And
but those are influences. I'm saying genre-wise, it's basically a King Kong movie.
Yeah, I'd buy that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Now, what did you think of it overall? So, what did you actually think of the movie?
So, my biggest takeaway was that it was a very ambitious movie, trying to be all these things. And it was a beautiful looking movie. Not necessarily in terms of beautiful shots with beautiful landscapes or all that, but just beautiful camera work. All the interiors looked great. All the actors' faces look fantastic.
Absolutely agree.
I don't know if it was the camera itself, just the clarity, the focus of everything looked great. It just popped. That was my biggest takeaway for sure.
The cinematography was gorgeous. The production design was immaculate. I felt like the movie was a little overly ambitious, though. I felt like it got a little bit muddied by trying to be so many different things.
You know what?
Did you think so?
I kind of do agree with that. I think it was so many things, and it could have been great with all those things, but I think they kind of rushed over some stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
The romance itself. Other than the quick egg montage and the music playing, that's all we get before we get to already the heist moment. But that's it. And I just wish we kind of had more of a build up, or the creature could actually do more sign language back, and then having conversations more. We didn't get as much of that. But that's too bad.
So, before we get into anything that could be considered a spoiler,
yeah,
what's what's your takeaway? Should people go see this movie or should they avoid it?
I think people should go see this movie, if only because I love Guillermo del Toro, and it is such a beautiful. It's a moving movie too. It's not necessarily a perfect movie, or like I don't think it's going to win an Oscar for Best Picture, but I do think it's worthy just for its. First of all, it's got a great social commentary, which we'll discuss later. It's absolute beautiful looking cinematography, and the fact that it has quite a heart, not just in the main romance, but with other characters as well. So I'd say go see it for sure.
Okay. And I say, if you're interested in filmmaking, you should definitely see this movie. If you're someone who likes the actual making of movies, or you're interested in doing that, there are a lot of beautiful things about this movie and a lot of lessons to be learned and some interesting sort of sub-points for discussion. If you're someone who wants to go see a movie, I would skip it. I thought the movie was very forgettable.
Really? Overall, you don't want the common general audience to... Okay.
I don't think they need to. I think this is one that you'd be very comfortable waiting and ordering it one evening on demand on TV. I think you'd be fine if you want to see it. I don't think this is one you have to rush out and see.
Maybe not rush out, but I say, if you're going to see it, see in the theater where you get the most beautiful projector so you can see how great looking the movie is. That's just me.
And I don't think this is necessary to see on a big screen. So take that for what it's worth. One, see it. One, conditional, maybe this is one to wait on, unless you really are into making movies or talking about the art of making movies, in which case it's worth seeing it for those technical elements. Absolutely. So for those of you who listen to me, stick around and wait till you hear the rest of this. For those of you who listen to Colin, pause here, go see the movie, and then come on back for the rest of this discussion. We'll be right here where you left us. All right, Colin, I couldn't agree more with what you were just saying. And this is why I think I found it so forgettable. It's very much about a romance. And I don't feel like we got enough of the romance. I didn't feel like they earned the romantic connection between the main character, or I should say the two main characters, to justify, going through that whole elaborate heist to break him out. What can we call him? I'm calling him Merman. To break the Merman out.
I'm just going to call him Abe Sr.
Abe Sr.? All right, I like that. Let's call. All right.
Okay.
So clearly, she's formed this bond, but it's filmmaking 101. They told us that, but we never saw it. Everything we see with her and Abe Sr. is more like domesticating a wild horse. Just like, he's skittish, and now, he'll come up and he understands some sign language. And then skip to, she's just telling him, but he sees me for me, and he doesn't know that I'm Really? Why couldn't we have some of that? We don't get him as a conscious actor until way later in the movie.
I did expect, because he obviously he learns the sign language, right, and everything like that. And he does a couple of pieces of it, but we never actually see him engage in a full conversation with
not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, not even close. And I know that was a missed opportunity for sure. So I agree with you there. I would stop just short of it being compared to domesticating a horse, just because a horse can't then starts doing sign language and dancing to music. That's where the separation happens.
We didn't see the creature dance to the music.
He did a backflip one time when she put on a tune, I think. Or he was at least dancing to copy what she was doing with the broom and the mop or something. That's what I assume was happening.
He was watching her while she danced. They were, she was obviously getting comfortable with him. Let's go with that. Fine, forget the horse thing, although they do also call him a wild animal later in the movie, which he is.
He does take out a cat.
The point is, all we saw was them getting comfortable with one another.
It was more about getting acquainted rather than building romantic feelings for one another. I think
right, or even any kind of deep emotional connection. We didn't see them share any emotional connection.
Well, you know what's funny though? I thought the more emotional connection the movie set up was between her and the neighbor. And
Absolutely.
like that one, you could really like because they spent such time with them talking to one another. They go to the pie place. They watch the old Hollywood movies together in his apartment.
They have a lot in common.
They have a lot in common. They're both outsiders. They both feel like they don't fit in. One because she can't talk, and one because he's in the closet. So like they feel like repressed and ostracized because of this. So there's a bond over that. And as much as the creature is very much also an outsider for sure, he's ostracized and all that. It's not quite the same level. It's not quite the same type of being on the outside.
Of ostracism.
Yeah.
Well, and what they don't do is they don't establish that the creature, Abe Sr., has a personality and is conscious and understands language and is a full-blooded, humanoid being like
True.
you and I.
Like
You don't establish that it's a real, intelligent, person in there.
We never find out either via Abe or the movie doesn't show us either like any type of like what's his history? Does he have a family? Did he talk with his could they communicate with his family? Is there more than one of him? All this stuff, and because we don't know any of that, it makes it less. It just doesn't land the punches of having these two characters connect. If we don't know as much about him, we can't assume then, like you said, that he is fully conscious individual creature.
Right. The movie, people say that he is.
Right.
But that's the best we get, is people telling us that he is. But in every scene where we see him through the heist, it's always him as like a beaten dog. It's all him being electrocuted and whimpering.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give us anything. It makes us feel, we don't want, we empathize with him more on the level of animal cruelty than on the level of this is a person who needs to be saved.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me, that kind of blows the whole movie.
They could have done more, establishing more as, because he does, even though he's all scaly, he's humanoid. He stands on 2 feet, whatever like that. He's got lungs to help him breathe when he's not in the water. He's got 2 sets of lungs. So I'm just like, okay, that's, he's got the air lungs like humans do. That's something. But they didn't build it up enough, to your point. And I agree. I think there was like a decent amount of build up, not enough to take it that extra mile.
They talked about it, but we didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see it until, I would argue, the end of the movie.
After he gets shot?
I don't think it's clear that Abe Sr. understands anything about what anybody is saying or what is going on around him at all until the last 2 minutes of the movie.
Well, I don't agree with that completely, because we also see in the after the heist, when he's taken back to the apartment, we do see him demonstrate remorse. And usually wild animals don't show necessarily remorse. When he attacks the cat, right? And then he goes to the movie theater, and he's kind of like bewildered by what he sees. But he goes back to the apartment. He learns that, okay, the cat is not food. I can now pet the cat. And he learns that he hurt the neighbor. And that way he helps heal his wounds and like ask him for forgiveness, almost putting his hand on his head. Those were the good moments. That was good. That was very good.
And those were good. But at the same time, my dog can do that. My cat will do that.
All of that. Really?
my cat will absolutely show remorse and then come and do like, oh, forgive me, do a nuzzling thing.
And also,
that wasn't enough to
but
prove
also,
that
let me pay you back by healing the wound I gave you. That too.
Well, right. If he was a magical cat, I mean, it helps. It always helps to be magic. I'm not arguing that.
Right.
Yeah, but and again, that was the level that we got to see. Was all visceral emotions. But she was talking about him. I mean, she's having sex with him. Is it bestiality or is it a love story? We need to see something that there's a person in there or a personality. And we do, but it's not till after Abe Sr. gets shot. Okay. That's when, now it's very clear that he gets it. And he's the real person in there, and he's done playing the human's game. We needed some of that way earlier. It would have really, really, I think, made the movie a much better movie. Otherwise you're always flitting on this level of maybe the female lead is a little bit just delusional about this. You know, is this one-sided or is this a mutual thing that's happening here?
You know,
Hard for us to root for it.
Yeah, but it might, you know, thinking back on like Guillermo del Toro past movies, that might have been a purpose, an intended decision to make this kind of romance. I'm not gonna say creepy, but not necessarily like, you know, a full blown, like you said, if it is between bestiality or like a full blown star-crossed lovers type thing. It's muddied. It's a little both. So it does. It kind of makes you feel conflicted almost. But if it's done right, if a movie does that right in a good way, then that makes that movie more interesting. Something like you are a fan of the gray area. This movie, I thought, was a bit of a gray area with the romance. I think that was purposeful to let the audience go, listen, romance ain't always cut and dry, you know, easy on the eyes or you know, it's obvious, something like that. It can be kind of messed up, kind of weird. But you know what? Does that make it any less real? I think Guillermo del Toro's point is no, it doesn't. Which that is an interesting commentary to make.
And for sure that's true. And you're right that is interesting. But the movie definitely did want me to root for that love.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
And it told me that there's a person in there, basically, that Abe Sr. is like just as human as you and I, basically, except P.S. he's magic and he's a god. But other than that, he's supposed to be a merman and he just doesn't know English, but he's being taught sign language. And we needed to see more of that. It still would have been having sex with a fish man. You know, it still would have been an unconventional love story, and you could have played with those details. But if I'd been given at least one real moment, preferably earlier on, of genuine, you know, in parentheses here, human connection between the two of them, I really think it would have sold it much better. I would have cared a lot more. Especially since the heist happened so early in the film.
You know, that was a big surprise. The fact that I thought the whole part of the movie was to try to find it. You know, the whole movie was building up to like an escape, right?
Right.
Take them out, and that would be the end. After
right. That's the arc of the film. Right.
Yeah. But they do it halfway through it. They do it halfway through. I was like, oh, okay. Dang.
And so when they start doing that, I'm already worried. I'm like, wait. I don't care about this yet. Like, it's too soon. And then thank goodness the movie didn't end right after that. But
right. It took more time.
It was already clear that, I had not had enough time really to get on board with this.
Right. But then they do have more connection moments between the two of them in the bathtub. When they're basically having dinner at the table, and he's just like almost trying to eat like a normal person. You're just like, oh, this is actually kind of weird, but also kind of cool. Yeah.
The Beauty and the Beast moment, you mean? Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's another genre the movie does. 1930s Hollywood musicals, black and white, just random dance number in the movie for no reason.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part.
That was your favorite part? The La La Land moment? Okay.
Yeah, well, let's not call it a La La Land moment.
No,
let's do the real reference. But yes, you know, obviously she and her neighbor are both obsessed with the old, even at that time, old musicals.
Yes.
The Hollywood musicals. And instead of having a traditional soliloquy, she has a musical soliloquy. It's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful song and dance. There's a reason that stuff made great movies. And it was a beautiful way to integrate that into this movie. But it also, there's so many different disjointed things like that. I mean, there was no reciprocal moment for the creature. There was no reciprocal moment for any of the other characters. And none of those things are a deal breaker in and of themselves, but because it was constantly not giving me anything at any of these moments, it was hard to sink my teeth into the movie. I was watching it, it was interesting, but I didn't really care until the very, very end.
Can I ask you, let me ask you a theory that I developed after I saw this movie as I was driving home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was said in the movie, but hopefully I heard it right. But so Eliza was an orphan, right? And she was found near the water, like by the river or something.
Yes.
And she already had the scratches, the scars on her neck.
Yes.
And that's why she can't speak the whole time. And actually, in that singing scene, I thought because the creature seemed to have healing powers when he healed the wound, I thought he was healing her vocal cords, which is why she was able to start kind of singing in the beginning, and then it goes away later. I'm like, oh, it was just wish fulfillment. Yeah. But let me ask you this, because at the end, when you see the creature, or sorry, Abe Sr. Save Eliza in the water, and you expect like, oh, he'll just heal the maybe the bullet wound, and that's how he'll do it. But instead, he transforms the scars to gills. Let me ask you this: does that mean that potentially could she not have been supposedly have been a water creature that just kind of got swept up on land and never then transformed and became like Abe Sr. himself? Or was that just because she happened to have those things on her neck? It just was a very useful way to just transform them into water gills. What do you think?
Well, first thing I'll say is I think that's probably a little bit more literal than this movie would want you to be.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think that the spirit of what you're saying is absolutely what was intended. That she, in her heart, had some sea creature in her.
You know what? I totally agree with that, because like water for her is such a big thing. Like her job. She works.
How she starts her day, if we can just be euphemistic about it.
She likes pleasuring herself in the bathtub of all places. She uses water at work with a mop. So she's running with water all there. On the bus, sometimes it looks like she can move the water droplets with her fingers. And I don't know, is that like a creature ability that she's gotten, or I don't know what it was. Yeah. But it just seemed like water and her just went together, and I thought it was because she belonged there all the time, but she washed up on shore accidentally.
I think that's definitely in her heart. I don't think it's literally she was a sea creature who washed ashore, but I think the fact that she's connected with it is what's crucial there.
Okay.
And of course, the movie opens with her coming from underwater.
True. Yep, for sure.
Which is not, was a hard thing for them to do, and not to be undersold in terms of its symbolism.
Yeah.
So, well, I think that element is absolutely right.
All right.
If
so
all that, what's that?
Final score?
Final score, 7.5. Fine.
You know what? I'm going to give it exactly the same, 7.5. Perfect.
7.5. So if you felt like all this was interesting and something you want to check out, by all means, go see the movie. Otherwise, wait for it to come out on DVD. If DVDs still exist.
Come on. HD.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we have time for today. Join us next time for the next episode of Inside Voices, when we will take a look at Star Wars.
Bye, people.
So long. May the Force be with you.